It's time for Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust, the greatest automotive podcast in the known world, with Ron Foreman, Brady Wright, and Steve Johan. Let's find out what's going on this week. Well, what's happening this week is that it's January 19th. I wrote 119th on the thing. It's a long month. 2021, here we are. It's the 171st show. Brady Wright, Ron Foreman, Steve Johan. We're all here all the time, all week.
We are.
Doing the stuff that we do here on Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust. We are on Podomatic, of course. We're on MeWe now. We have a profile on YouTube. If you like the video shows, that's where those are showing up. What else? Let's see. Parler is kind of back, but it's kind of not so much. So we're working on Parler, but we also have a presence on Gab.com.
Ooh, good.
So
that's good.
Stick with us.
You're used to that, right, Brady?
Yeah, well, that's what I do. Anyway, our first segment, as usual, is back to the blacktop, and that's where Steve grabs all the cool car-related stuff he can find in the dumpster behind the Dick's Drive-In and brings it out so that we can share it. And what have you got this week?
Oh, well, I better wipe off the banana peel here. Actually, there's no banana peels at Dick's. They don't use bananas.
That's not fair. That's not fair. I haven't eaten yet. What the heck?
Oh, Brady, you're just... Okay, you be quiet while I tell what's going on here. It's official. The merger...
Hey, you might be able to get a word in edgewise now with these
Wait, I got fries.
Hey. Shh. Now let me talk. It's official. The merger is done. Fiat Chrysler NV and Peugeot SA has joined hands over the weekend with resulting company called Stellantis NV. So now they will be called
What is it?
Stellantis.
How's it spelled?
Stellantis.
Sounds like a shampoo.
Yeah.
I don't know what the whole idea is, but anyway, Stellantis is now the combined name of Fiat Chrysler and Peugeot. So they'll still be holding all their 14 vehicles will be under the brand. It's a $52 billion merger. The operation consists of 6 continents, not incontinents, but continents, which employ about 400,000 people. So they sell over 8 million vehicles a year. So this is a big outfit. It's the 4th largest manufacturer now in the world with the combined companies.
Yeah.
And,
which incontinent is it on? I waited. I waited.
Jeez.
Yeah, you did.
Well, speaking of incontinence, GM's move to electric-powered delivery vehicles is agreed to invest $787 million in its Cami plant in Ontario, where it plans to build its Bright Drop electric delivery van, which will compete
Good thing
against...
he's got an incontinent on.
Oh, my gosh. Get the diapers on. Which will compete against rival delivery vehicles. And that's good news for the Canadian crowd. It gives them more jobs up there. And as we know, we've been tracking this, is that a couple weeks ago we had Matthew DeBoard on. We talked about how electrics can be used for delivery. But my thinking is, in my area, delivery guys are out driving 12-hour days now. I mean, it is just now this way it is going. And
nobody's shopping, so they're all
shopping. Everybody's staying at home, and especially in the Puget Sound. I mean, I have to admit, but I don't think it could keep a charge for 12 hours solid if they're starting, stopping. So it'd be interesting to see how a delivery truck would fare for 12 hours, literally like a diesel, because the diesel can stop and they can keep going. And
that's always been the kind of the rap with electric cars is they have there's a charging distance, time distance, and there's also a range. You only go just so far. So
and
batteries are getting better and the charging times are getting longer, but I think they've got a ways to go.
Well, and they might turn half the shipping van into a big battery as a backup. Then
then is that efficient?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, all you can carry is somebody's lunch,
But anyways, they're going to invest $787 million into it. But it's good news for the guys up in Canada. So good for those guys. And then Toyota Motor agreed to pay the largest civil penalty ever, $180 million, to settle a lawsuit brought by the Department of Justice because the automaker failed to report violations of U.S. emissions regulations for a decade. So apparently all these guys have been working very hard to hide the numbers, doctor the numbers.
Yeah.
And but now what's interesting is here in the Northwest, this last year they closed down all the emissions testing places. So I don't know how they're going to test these vehicles.
Well, that law sunsetted.
Yeah.
So, that now the idea that emissions are being monitored, not so much. And it seems kind of funny to me with these people screaming about this Green New Deal stuff. Fine, protect the environment. But if you're going to get rid of the emission standards and not ask for older cars, I mean, you're sending kind of a mixed message.
A big mixed message.
Well,
and now
that stuff is state by state too.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Always been. California's always had very tough emission standards, more cars, bad wind control and stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's all that. But just because you don't have that particular issue, is it smart to get rid of emissions? Well, maybe. Can you make an efficient car without a catback system? Sure.
I don't think that's going to go anytime soon. And the new cars are already very efficient compared to.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, I mean,
30 years ago.
Doing just fine. So
yeah.
I thought our carbon footprint in the United States was the lowest it's ever been in the last.
It is, and it's actually lower than a couple dozen countries that don't do what we're doing.
Right.
So misplaced effort, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, speaking of misplaced efforts, I just got my tab bill in the mail for my license tabs.
Oh, right.
$140 for my 2000 Astro van.
Oh, the new Mazda that we
oh my God,
Georgia bought for something, $414.
Yeah, but I mean, $140. It's like $40 alone to Linwood is just like what? Where'd that come from? Anyway, so much for the $35 tab tax. Computer.
Well, the more electric cars are on the road, the more we're going to have to pick up the slack because they're not paying any gas tax.
There you go.
Yeah, but with 2% of all the overall, that's a long ways to go yet. But
he's talking about raising it another $1 a gallon.
Yeah. And then computer chip shortage is causing slowdown in some of the automotive manufacturing sectors. So with all the COVID and restrictions and blah, 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 and just overall a good excuse by some suppliers to say we're just not going to kick them out as fast anymore.
Right.
Some of the manufacturers are suffering, and so they ripple effect is they're having to furlough some of their workers or cut back on their hours while they kind of keep churning through. And that has been a big issue amongst a lot of suppliers within all industries. Is just the fact that factories they got to stay. They got all these regulations now. So it's kind of slowing things down. I don't know. Are you guys feeling that same thing up there, Ron, up where you work? You work for a big manufacturing facility. Are you seeing any slowdowns due to, stay away, all the COVID mandated garbage? Are you guys slowing down in your manufacturing?
The only slowdowns that there are is due to a lack of production.
Because there's nobody buying the planes right now.
Well, they've got the 87 going to South Carolina, but we've got some other work coming in because of the 87. But other than that, not to due to COVID at all, really.
Okay. Well, the other thing that I wanted to let everybody know before we get to our break is we have a new sponsor, and that is our friends over at D&L Restoration. And if you happen to be
D&L, good guys.
Yeah, so if you happen to be a body tech and you're living in the Northwest, listen to the ad. It's going to come up next. You'll find out all the details of what they're looking for. But great company. They and by the way, if you guys who are listening have a business and you want to advertise on here, we reach all really cool people that are into cars like yourself.
Well, and we have a reach every week of over 1 million listeners alone. Right. So, it's a good way to get your name out in front of people.
Yep.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. And then lastly, I was just going to say I came across a really cool Hemmings Car of the Week. And, we'll hold that to later in the show. There's our music.
We'll talk about it. Thanks for tuning in. Coming up, we've got Hollywood Hotrods, like behind me, on Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust.
Out of gear, and my heart's in overdrive. I've everything to fear. I ain't never been more alive.
Horsepower Chrome is back for the first half of the Windshield View. This week, we are welcoming Troy Todd from Hollywood Hotrods.
Troy
Welcome, Troy. Scooby.
Scooby. So, Troy, where are you coming from? Coming with us or coming to us from?
I'm at work. I gotta build cars. I gotta stay busy with,
Because I'm looking behind you here, and I'm seeing you got the big screen TV, you got the art on the wall, you got the car.
Well,
that's
if you look,
pretty nice work.
If you look at the TV, that's those are cameras of everyone working on cars downstairs.
That's so I see. So
smart.
We're watching the security camera.
Yeah, those are security cameras. That shows everybody downstairs working.
Oh, so that guy middle left is taking a door handle out and putting it in his pocket. I don't know what's. Oh, never mind.
Oh boy, I better keep it on. So yeah, this is my office, and
nice.
then that's
right.
Clark Gable and his
his
Packard over there, and my dog is asleep, so you can't really see him.
Mine's down here. He's I got him.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That's Otis.
Yeah.
So at work, just taking a little break, talking to you guys, talking about some cars and
nice.
And whatever your heart desires to discuss.
Well, okay. So is there room in your shop to do a build for me? Because I got.
How big is your checkbook?
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's always the way. I got to tell you, I mean, I knew about you guys. I knew what you did. I've always been a fan of the Mulholland Speedster. It's just I like cars with fender skirts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went back and I thought I was going to take a look at the builds, and you got an amazing amount of variety in the cars that you do. I mean, there's a late model Mustang up here, and of course you got the 40, and which is one of my favorites. But lots of different kinds of cars. Tell me this. How do you choose what you want to do? And obviously the customer has a certain amount of that, but is there a style that you like to kind of put your stamp really?
I would argue that if you look closely at like all the different cars, because there's a fair amount of variety.
Sure.
I think that you at some point can kind of see a common, at least design style and a common direction. Not necessarily that the theme or design of each car is the same, because each one kind of has its own provenance. I mean, some of them we even make a backstory for and really give them history in advance, even though they're a new build. But some of the stuff like the late model Mustang, we don't do new cars. That only reason that car exists is because Ford asked us to redesign the new Mustang, and Ford, so you do it.
Because it does kind of stand out amongst all the others. It's like
agreed.
Deuce, what?
Right, but if you look at it, I feel like there's still some similarities, because that car is there's a lot of kind of mechanical bits, like aluminum trim with rivets and things that seems to be a common theme in a lot of stuff we do.
Got it. Okay.
Our main thing, like the Mulholland and different cars like that, is metal shaping, because we can coach build and literally create cars from nothing. So even that Mustang, it's a convertible, but the roof that you see is an aluminum lift-off top. It unlatches and removes. So
nice.
It turns it into a fastback design, a true fastback. The newer model actually has more of that roof shape. That was the redesign of the up to 2014.
Right.
So and then the 2015 on is, interestingly enough, similar to that one.
Yeah.
So just I feel like even though that car is odd, it still kind of captures some of the things that we do. And metal, the magazine's named that car Full Metal Jacket because all if you look at the back, which would normally have a protruding plastic bumper,
right,
it's all gone, and that's all shaped metal that's rolled under into the diffuser and all that.
Yeah, so it's all tucked in. And I'll just tell people, I mean, when you go to the website HollywoodHotrods.com, you can go to builds, and this shows up as a gallery. And each one you click on, of course, you get more background and more views of the car. And the back end of that caught my eye because it is all tucked in and shaped, and it's clearly different. You did a lot of work in there.
Yeah, I think there's some build pictures on there too, right? Where I think the whole back half of the car's cut off and on the ground. I think.
Oh wow.
But,
I didn't get that deep into it. I looked at it and went, okay, there's a lot more here than stock.
So Troy,
so that was fun. I mean, I think that more than anything, we like design. I like design and engineering challenges, and it's not really fun as like as artists to do the same thing over and over. So I think so even something like that is exciting and fun because we get to do this completely new thing at the same time trying to keep it within our style, bubble. So like
right.
One of the interesting kind of speeches I give to people when we talk about hot rods and hot rod builders and things like that is there are hundreds, probably thousands of shops across the country that can build a fancy, shiny hot rod, muscle car, hot rod, whatever, right? But there are only a handful that have a specific design style that have a recognizable, like, oh, that looks like something Chip Foose would do, or Troy Trepanier, or and I believe that Hollywood Hot Rods is within that niche where at some point you can say, oh, that looks like something Hollywood Hot Rods would do. And from an artistic standpoint, that's hard to achieve. And that's the goal. Any artist wants to be recognized for their art.
Sure. Well, so, you're right. You can see a Foose car a mile off. You can tell a Coddington build because of that. There's a
character. You're looking for the word character. It's the character of the builder and the style of the shop that builds that car. It's the character of the builder. And Troy, you're awesome. Thanks. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, there's looking at the gallery itself on your site. I mean, you can tell there's a photographic feel to them, but looking at the build pictures is kind of fun because you can see, well, this thing came in kind of cobby looking. That 50 is a 55 Ford, 54 Ford, no 55 or 6.
Oh, the road tour car. It ended up being green, like a 60s era.
Yeah. And that thing came in looking pretty rough.
Yeah,
but you can kind of watch it come together, and it definitely has. Now you look at the final, it's a feel. It's a Hollywood hot rod.
And that one's a little bit of a stretch for us too, because that one's a little louder in the design, not in hearing, but the design. Like that was a 60s panel era paint job, which is a little bit of a push for us because we really work towards building elegant and classy hot rods, and we'll do thousands of hours of metalwork on a car and then paint it brown or a light green, like a toned down. And that's we've always tried to let the cars, you call it subtle elegance or things like that. It's always supposed to be classy. Even a loud, angry hot rod can still be elegant. But we've always tried to let the design of the car speak for itself, rather than you're not going to see a purple flamed, crazy billet wheel car come out of here. That's easy. We call that we kind of call that a clown on fire. You can make something loud and ridiculous and get attention, but it's not necessarily good attention it'll get. Like we try to really build for, I don't know how to explain it. Just like that. Really, the design process needs to be more integrated in it than just loud colors and obvious stuff.
Well, Troy,
it's more subtle.
Troy, one of the things I noticed is I used to do a show about motorcycles, and we interviewed some of the top guys in the custom motorcycling world, and the ones that I like the most are exactly what you're saying. It wasn't blowing up, lots of crap on there. It was literally, you have to sit there, and the more time you spend, the more detail you see, and it's just a minutia. And they spent 1,000 hours crafting and doing it. And Brady, you know what I'm talking about. It's beautiful, and the flow stands out. And it's not the paint job. It's not the bells and whistles.
You know what? You kind of just hit on something. Nothing should stand out.
Yes, it looks like it should be built that way.
That's right. You should be impressed by the overall package on first. We actually talk about that a little bit. Like first impressions, you need to walk up and go, wow, and then start finding details.
Well, hold on.
Red Hudson that you built for the 2017 SEMA show, that car is wow from the get-go. That thing is.
Yeah,
let's hang on. We got our break coming up here.
Already with the break.
Yes.
Already with the break. We'll be back. Hang on.
Back in Vehicle City.
Yes, we are. We're back in the second half of the Windshield View on Horsepower, Chrome, and Rust. And our conversation with Troy Ladd continues from Hollywood Hot Rods. And we were on the other side. We were talking about, you made a point that when you build something, it shouldn't look like you built it. It should look like it was there all along. And when I go to build onto my house, I'm the same way. So when it gets done, people don't even know that I did anything to the house.
Right.
It literally goes, well, it wasn't that way, Steve. I go, no, look at the neighbor's house. It's not that, is it? No, but it used to be.
The neighborhood has
car parts. That's the way I understand that. Is you want to have your builds look like it came off the showroom floor from the factory.
Right. And he had just mentioned, like right before the break, we talked about the Mulholland Speedster.
Yep.
And that was kind of the ultimate expression of that for us, because that car doesn't exist. We designed that with the help of Eric Black, who's an amazing designer. And so myself, Eric Black, and the owner, we all decided that we would literally design a car with all of the things that we thought were sexy about cars of the era, 30s cars. So it's got Delahaye, Packard, Delage, Art Deco stuff, just whatever's in our head, drew it and literally built a car from scratch. So for for you to say that looks like a car that should be is the ultimate compliment, because that car never was. We designed that, we created it. So if all the pieces look like they belong,
it's really
then
cool.
we succeeded.
And it's great that you actually, because I was just about to sort of go there. I like the cars of the 30s. I like the whole coachwork thing back in those things. On Art Deco stuff is perfect. And you mentioned Delahaye, you mentioned Delage. Just today, I'm cruising through Facebook, and on one of the car sites, there's a picture of a Delage. It's a silver side shot, and it's a 36 or 37, and you know the ones I'm talking about. I mean, they are so completely gorgeous. It's metallic sex. It's just magnificent. And you don't see the detail. You don't see the door jamb. You don't see the headlight. You see the whole car, because it's a piece. It's a feeling that they made into metal. And the idea that, I think that's why I like the Speedster. It's why I like, cars like that, because no individual piece of them stands out. Whereas if you take the car, for example, that was in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, you remember that horrible collection of candelabras and stuff. Oh my God! Look,
pretty elaborate.
It's amazing. It is literally, to use your phrase, a clown on fire. It is exactly that, and you'll look it up and see it. But the Speedster hit me when I first saw it. This quite a while ago, as exactly the opposite. It's supposed to be there. I knew it didn't exist, but it should. In a perfect world, that would be there.
It's what we really like to do too, like a car like that. So it's not completely built from nothing. We always try to add some DNA. So it does have. We literally built a car around the grill, like it's an actual Packard grill. We have Packard pieces. We did start with a donor Packard, a lot of donor Packard stuff, and then create that. But one of the phrases that we use when we're doing this kind of thing is every piece, like a car like that, every piece, every shackle, every bracket, every hinge needs to be a piece of art on its own.
Right.
But every piece of art need to work together for the greater good. So it has to work together as
an organic construction.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. The Troy is very much like that same sort of thing. And again, it's got skirts, and I happen to like them, but it's that kind of a feel. You can see kind of where it came from, but there's so much more there. I think that's the thing about your work that I like the most.
So Troy, what I wanted to ask you was, if it wasn't for your clients, you could never do this.
Oh,
and so
God, no.
Who was probably your first real client who gave you your foot in the door that said, Troy, I trust you. I want a showstopper here, that really catapulted you into the
That's
next
super
stage?
Tough, because we're ever evolving. So, each one is better than the next. So that's kind of a tough one. I think I would have to say that I think what really helped push, there's all these pieces to that question, but like the first time we did a chop for Rod and Custom magazine, that was the first, as a new business tick. That was a little foot in the door. That got me some exposure. Then we did the Rides television show, which is, 1 hour documentary on just us. So a guy here in Burbank who's now, it's been 18 years, he's still one of my best friends. We're buddies now. We built 232 Roadsters for the TV show. Those were great cars, not groundbreaking, not like AMBR winning cars, but really nice cars. But that helped elevate what we did to the next level. Then from there, like, okay, they built cars on TV, so what? This guy by the name of Ron Lee, who was in Pasadena, he allowed us to build, I think it's on my website, it's the right-hand drive, little brown 32 Roadster. Okay. It's very European, called the Brooklyn's Special. So then he trusted us to build that. And then that was a big deal. And then we kind of just kept going. And then I met the owner of the Mulholland because he purchased the Black Widow car that we did. Mm-hmm. And it was built for somebody else, but it went to auction. And this gentleman saw it, bought it. And he's such a good guy. And when he bought that car, he had to find us, find the builder. And he said, I just bought this car. If there's any car shows anywhere you want it to go, let me know. I'll ship it. I'll show it because people need to see this car. Wow. So we became friends.
That's cool.
Yep.
And then we started to brainstorm the Mulholland. He said, I kind of like that, but I want a Roadster and I like this. And so we started to put pieces together, then hired Eric Black to draw it, and it just kind of went from there. But we can't do anything without customers allowing us to play with their money. You know?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, and going on kind of a little different direction, you got some other cars in there. I'm not going to hit the Mustang again, but I love this one I think it's on your top row or second row. That's the Coyote Comet.
Oh,
that's a whole different style of build.
That's my fiance's car.
Is it? It's very cool. I mean, it's kind of a minimalist look, but I'm sure
the world's most expensive or most modified Comet.
Yeah, it's like this is interesting because
so it's neat. And again, I feel like that our design style and thread can be seen in all of those cars because that car is highly customized, but you can't see it, and it appears as if it's just a better and cleaner version of the original.
It looks kind of like a mild, loving touch, but I started looking at it, and then of course I looked up the build, and it's like, oh, you did everything.
Yeah. But in the end, it's, the factory DNA is still there.
It looks subtle.
Well, it's the subtleties that make the difference.
Yes.
We think so. I mean, the interior is mimicked from the stock interior of the S22, which is a sport model or something, but it's all leather, and all the metal that used to be painted is now leather wrapped. And again, you look in there and you're not going to stock steering wheel, stock restored gauges. You're not going to see anything that makes it look modern, but it is modern. I mean, there's like 4 computers in that car to run suspension, transmission, injection, ignition. So, we like that a lot too. We like form and function.
Sure. So Troy, who have been probably the top 3 people in your life who you look back to and said they were the guys that really helped me, give me the insights, give you the inspiration, and maybe even give you a hand to become who you are today? Because somebody had to help you along the way, I'm sure.
Well, not really in the car world. I kind of just came in this. I have no history or anything in my family. It just was a thing that I just picked up. But number one would be my grandfather, because he's the one that kind of raised me, and he's the one that taught me that he was an engineer, and he's from a different generation where in my family you did everything yourself. Yes. Your plumbing went bad, you did it yourself. Yep. Electrical, like I told people growing up in my entire lifetime, none of my family's cars have ever gone to a garage. No plumbers ever come to our house. No, that's just how I was raised. So I was given the 66 Mustang, and my grandfather had a pretty large hand in raising us because a single mom. She was a waitress at a coffee shop, and so it was a meager lit lifestyle. And my grandfather's like, so you have this car and it's broken. What are you gonna do? Like, I don't know. He's like, you have any money? No. He's like, well, you're gonna learn to fix it. So that was really kind of got me into cars. And then I found out that 66 Mustangs were actually kind of cool. So
very cool.
That was our first car.
And actually kind of simple to work on too.
Yeah. Back then I got into like trying to soup it up, and I did some street racing, and it just, that's how I kind of got, once you get the sickness, you're never out. So, and then
that's why we're doing this show, Troy.
Right?
We've all been bitten. We've all been bitten.
And the funny thing is he's the one that kind of got me into it, but he kind of understood before he passed, but he was always very disappointed in me that I did this. Yeah, because I went, because I didn't, I have a degree in business and I went to college and I had a real job before. And that was how I was also raised, is education is king, go, he was an engineer. He did like stuff for the government. Like he did missiles and sonar systems and things. So I did that for a while. I was a project manager for development companies. I did hospitals and whatnot. And then I kind of quit my day job to do this. And so that didn't make him happy. But anyway, that was my first, I think my first big influence. And then once I got into the car world, I really respect like Roy Brizio. I always thought that he's a really good example of just a good, honest, nice guy that builds fantastic cars, and nobody has anything bad to say about him. Like he's just like a great person, and I wanted to be like that, because in our industry there's so many shady people and people with egos and just jerks that I didn't want to be part of. I didn't want to be part of that. I'm just not my personality.
Well, we're back to character again. With your character, it reflects your cars and your build and your attitude. It's very cool. Very cool.
I believe that's, you asked about, like, a little bit secret of my success or whatever. That I feel like that's always been part of it. Is still do it. We do most of this out of passion and not money. So I lose more than like all the time on our projects, because it's more important, especially in the beginning. Like in the beginning, it's actually an investment. You're like, okay, we have a customer. He's not big money, but we're going to go over and above, because when he takes this to Bob's Big Boy or whatever, people are going to see it and then reinvest. So I've always kind of had that idea and still do it. And even like the Mulholland, big cars like that, I always describe myself as a partner in the car. Because when we're really excited and passionate, we put so much extra into it that doesn't even get billed, but it's we can show the world our art, which is more important. So I battle with that a lot, because I come from a logical engineering family with a business degree, which is that type of brain. But then I also have an art brain.
Art, yes, yeah.
So there's.
And a car heart. And a car heart.
Yeah. So
a car heart. Yes.
Car heart. That's cool. So I guess other than that, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that I respect for what they've done, but I don't really have anyone's I've like interacted with in a mentor way or anything. It really hasn't.
Very cool.
You're doing it right, Troy. You're doing it right.
Well, and I find I'm an artist, and I'm passion over profit all the time.
Passion over profit. Oh no. Oh, I'm writing that down.
so my wife's always on top of me and saying, Steve, come on, get. I'm like,
make a buck.
But it's, and earlier you were talking about when you take something on and you formulate it. It reminded me, as a musician, all three of us guys are all musicians, and in a past life we played a lot. But I listened to a song that's a remake by a band from an earlier era, and if they make it their own, it's like they made that song. I mean, when Van Halen took on Pretty Woman, it became Van Halen. It wasn't Roy Orbison. And when some of the jazz musicians take on their song of a previous, it's their song. You no longer even think about it as the previous artist. And I think that's what you're doing with your artwork, is you take a car, you reform it, and now it's yours, even though it had its predecessor. Am I kind of getting that?
That's a great analogy, and really, and then the thing I always say too is there's no new ideas. There's no. It's just you take pieces that are inspired from other places and you put them together in your own way. I think probably most art is like that. You're not creating something that never existed, but you are by combining things that previously existed into your own version.
So like my hot rod is not the Ford built, it's the Ford that I built after he built it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Ron, speaking of your car, you take your vehicle. Oh my God, we are down to 10 seconds. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
It's just.
Hey, no worries. We could do this again. Troy, would you come back and talk to us another time?
Of course.
That's awesome.
So
you can see I'm really shy.
Yeah, no kidding. You got to learn to speak
So
up.
are we.
HollywoodHotrods.com. You can get it on the website. We'll make a link with the show. Troy, thank you so much for coming along.
Oh, well,
nice
thanks
to
for
meet
having
you, bro.
me, guys.
Nice to meet you. It's time for Cars Confidential. We're going to have another story from Fenders, Fins, and Friends. Thanks, Lance Lambert, for donating all your books and time and stories. And Brady's going to tear it up.
I am going to tear it up because this is a great story. This one is something that all three of us can relate to for a variety of reasons. It's called Garage Guys.
Oh, yes.
That's how we got our name for our club, you know.
It is.
Garage Banter.
Yes, banter.
Yeah, banter. Yep.
Banter.
You'd be looking for your 9/16 wrench. Hey, Tony, where's my 9/16 wrench? Well, it was up your rat bastard. You know where it was.
It's over here. That's right. And you made a club out of it.
That's right.
So this is Garage Guys, and this one I'm the voice of Lance here.
Well, you certainly don't look like him.
I know.
Lucky you.
Jan and I purchased our home about 20 years ago. She bought the view. I bought the garage. We both got the house thrown in with the deal. The garage, fortunately, is located close to some other car guys' garages. The closest in location is Rick, the proud owner of a 1980 Ford Jaguar convertible. Rick owns a very rare car, a dependable Jaguar.
Yes. Yes.
If you've ever had a British car.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
saying. The cost of Jaguar ownership recalls a line Woody Allen spoke when he was playing the role of a stockbroker in a movie. I invest people's money until they don't have any left. Rick's convertible seems to be the exception to the rule, and the Lambert Automotive Museum will be happy to relieve him of ownership anytime. Thus, my constant question, how's it running? It tactfully hides the subliminal message that his Jaguar will likely self-destruct at any moment, and therefore he should sell it to me at a very cheap price.
Just sure up the street, back with how's it hanging?
Just up the street is Jim, whose collection includes a 1949 Mercury, a 57 T-Bird, and a plethora, Lance. Plethora.
What kind of car is that?
It's not the name of a car. It's a bunch of mysterious vehicles that show up one day and then vanish, like the morning mist. Jim's the kind of car collector who says, "Ooh, that blankety blank is just something that I've had forever. I don't really need it." The just something is usually a car for which I'd be willing to hand over my grandmother to pirates. To the south is Joe, who, using his computer building skills to construct a reproduction Shelby Cobra, some of the locals and I stop by his garage on occasion to lend a helping hand in putting together what seems like a really big model kit. Joe usually spends the following day repairing any damage that we may have done as a result of helping him. He has a big dog residing in the garage that always barks at me. The barking's usually the most intense when Joe says, at the same time that he's filling my pocket with a live squirrel, "Don't worry, the dog doesn't bite." Obviously, Joe loves to have me stop by for a visit. We should talk to Lance about the fact that he's unaware that somebody would be filling his pocket with a live squirrel.
I know.
You didn't notice that, huh?
I heard something about that with Richard Gere.
Wow.
Heading north finds a tour in front of John's house, which is usually surrounded by a bevy, again, not a car name, a bevy of hot rods. Someday when I grow up, I want to be just like John. He, unlike the neighbor to the south, knows which end of a screwdriver to hold, and that there are tools other than a hammer for use on the majority of auto repairs. I like a good hammer.
Yes, I do too.
It's a Ford wrench, right?
That's right. The Ford wrench. John drives the finest 1936 Ford Roadster in the galaxy, and usually the entire neighborhood can hear him driving down the street. My response is charging out of our house like an 8-year-old kid when he hears the Good Humor ice cream truck. Then there have been a couple of car guys who've left the area in the past few years. I like to think that they're just moving on with their lives and that the move wasn't the result of my constant dropping by to visit and ask, what are you doing? You going to work on your car today? I hope. Can I help? The idea of Lance showing up at your house and saying, can I help you work on your car?
Lance never grew up, has he? He's still that teenager.
No, it's one of his most endearing traits.
Yes, it is.
There have one of these vacating, fleeing neighbors was Jerry, the king of all things Thunderbird. He owned 2 Thunderbirds, a 57 and a 66, that were sterling examples of how cool those cars really are. You'd often see these vintage vehicles at local parades and car shows with the chrome shining as bright as the sun.
Was that a plug for his show, Vintage Vehicles? I think it was a plug in there.
No, he talked about car shows. He hasn't said anything about his TV show yet in this story.
Well, he just said there's vintage vehicles in the story.
No, vintage vehicles at local parades and a car show.
Well, that's a name drop if I ever heard one.
I think so.
Are you listening to the story,
Yes,
Steve?
I am.
He probably moved because his garage was.
You lost me at the squirrel in the pocket.
To hold all his car show trophies, or perhaps he was tired of cleaning off his Snoopy neighbor's nose prints from the garage door windows. Lance. Rob, another former neighbor, was more my kind of car guy. He recognized that the world was full of very desirable cars that can be purchased for next to nothing. My dad once traded one of his cars for a box of chocolates and a bowling ball, but that's a whole other story. Bob's bowling ball cars were often the lesser models manufactured by Chrysler Corporation. Both would take a bland and a plain model and then add new paint, upholstery, rebuild the engine, and end up with a car that, well, like my college girlfriend Sonia, was really beautiful once you took a closer look.
Oh, God, jeez.
So what's the point of this tour bus through your scribe's neighborhood? Well, seek and ye shall find. Fences and locked garages make good neighbors. Every village has an idiot. I think it's a warm and fuzzy story about how a person can enjoy the company of like-minded people located on home turf. I just hope that they don't sick their dogs on you or flee the neighborhood in search of scarce privacy.
Wow.
That has a way with words. In fact, has a whole book filled of words, and you can buy it on Amazon or the Vintage Vehicle Show website. It's Fender Spins and Friends, Confessions of a Car Guy, and we thank him for letting us read stories out of them periodically. We will.
Well, I have to admit, I like his books. I like David Dickinson's books, and
sure, they're funny.
And when you just need a little uplift in your life, and you got a little time in the bathroom, they're great reads. I mean,
perfect. They are the perfect bathroom book.
Yes, they are.
No squirrels allowed.
No squirrels.
No squirrels allowed.
I think we should get somebody to draw up a picture of Lance in caricature with a live squirrel sticking out of his pocket. I think.
Oh gosh, yes.
Who do we know that can do that?
Oh my gosh!
Call up Trosley. Maybe he'll do it.
Get Trosley. Yeah, that would be great. We'll send a.
Wow.
We got to get him back on the show.
Yes, we do.
I think it's time to do that. Give him a call. See if we can get him back on.
I will get him on. Yeah.
I got to get him to do a drawing of my truck as soon as it's finished.
Well, yeah, he'll probably do it for a good price. And
I'm going to ask him to do it for free.
Yeah.
You're talking about the guy with the.
He did all the cartoons. He's in
cartoons?
The cartoons
magazine. Yeah. Because when Matt Methot was on the other day with cartoons, he was talking about Trosley, some of the other guys. You've seen his art. Everybody's seen his art. It's
yeah. So, Ron, are you working on any of your cars? Have you been working on any of your cars lately?
Ron's
been working on a tree.
Trees.
I've been working on a tree that fell over this last. They call it a catastrophe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They call it this last storm a catastrophe.
Well, for those of you who are listening or watching from outside the area, the Puget Sound, the Pacific Northwest, had a huge windstorm last week, and it caused a ton of damage all over the place from Idaho, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia. I mean, it was pretty bad. Ron,
yes, sir,
literally lucked out because was it one or two? Big tree.
One big tree
came down and just barely missed major parts of your estate, but kind of took out pieces of your truck and clocked the neighbor's shed, right?
My shed.
Your shed.
Clocked their house.
Yeah,
the branches through the roof into through the roof and into the ceiling. Water coming in.
Yeah, looking at the pictures, that thing looked like it was about 4 feet across. Was it that big?
No, it's probably 2.5, maybe 3 feet across.
Hard to tell because it was on your truck.
Saturated with water. I mean, when I split the rounds up, it just splashed because it was just.
I'm
sure. Had like 8 inches of rain like the week before, and then the wind with the ground being soft and the heavy water in the tree itself. Just
see, over here, I mean, I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and there was a lot of wind through here as well. Of course, a lot of trees came down, but there's a ton of lodgepole and black pine over here. They got wide root structures, not deep, and the ground soaked for 2 weeks.
There's our music.
Done. Hey, we're almost there, aren't we? Darn it.
The Nathan Lipinski Weekly Trivia Question is up next. Stick around.
Help us if you can. You're an El Camino man. Only
Big block.
can understand.
396.
396. Welcome back. It's Around the Wheel. This is where we talk about upcoming events and stuff, and we actually have one this week. We're getting there. Plus, the Nathan Lipinski Weekly Automotive Trivia Question this week. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea the difficulty that was incurred trying to find an answer for the trivia question from last week. But
Need to make you go.
yes, but
A lot of things make me do that.
none other than our friend and supporter and the name source of our trivia question had the correct answer. Nathan Lipinski came up with the answer. He did because, see, what I said was Ferdinand Porsche, the automotive designer, and of course everybody's aware of the cars. He actually didn't have any car named after him. He designed a lot of them, but he did not have a car named after him. He was an engineer, design engineer. The car that carries the name Porsche was designed by his son.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
His name was Ferry Porsche, and German kid. And so the name is from him because he was the one that did that one.
Wow.
I think we know a squirrel name that.
We do. Yes. In Lance's pocket.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, so Nathan is going to have his very own thing of horsepower, chrome and rust, barn find dust that Steve was holding up mere moments ago.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll put him on the certificate for this week. There it is.
Shot glass.
Official. Next week's question is kind of a fun one. So there is a car.
Really, a car?
Periodically, well, people were talking about. Troy was talking about earlier tonight, cars that didn't actually exist but maybe should have.
Right.
And there's been several cars that have been designed with all kinds of neat stuff. There was a car that was really the first of the modern cars to be designed with power, everything. It had aerodynamic design, steerable headlights. It was nearly lost to history because it was too far ahead of its time. Question is, what was it? You might know. You might have the answer to that one.
What year was this?
Huh?
What year was this?
I didn't say. I said it was the first of the modern cars to have power everything, aerodynamic design, steerable headlights. The thing is nearly lost to history, but you know what it is.
Can I say it?
No, you can't. No. You can't. We're going to leave that up to the folks listening. You can contact us at horsepowerdchromeandrust.com. You can send us a Facebook post. You can send us a MeWe or any of the other ways you can get to us. Toss a rock through the studio window. Hit Steve. He's a really friendly guy about that.
Don't hit Steve.
But yeah, the next week you might be the one to win the certificate with the horsepower chrome and rust barn find dust, which, as we know, if you sprinkle this dust upon your vehicle, people think you found it in a barn. It's quadrupled in value instantly. Let's go face. Hey, there is an event coming up this weekend. We're going to talk about it real quick. We mentioned it last week, but this is actually the weekend. Saturday, January 23rd, if you are in the Pacific Northwest, there is a place called the Dirt Fish Off-Road Course. It's in Snoqualmie, Washington, on the way up towards the pass. The event is put on by Avance. Adam from Avance is having this thing. It's an off-road event called Let's Get Dirty. You can bring your off-road car. It's a great opportunity to meet fellow off-roaders. It is Saturday morning. There's two sessions, one at 10 a.m. to 12 and one at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. They got limit 20 vehicles per session.
Cool.
You got to pre-register. So here's the deal. Register at www.avance.com, A-V-A-N-T-S, Avance. You'll see the event there, and you can go Saturday. That's January 23rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Dirtfish Off-Road Course in Snoqualmie. I bet you if you drove up there, they probably let you register.
Yeah,
when you
I'll bet you so.
But check it out on the website in any case. And that's like one of the first events for this year that's actually outside and people are going. And I think that's very cool. Really? That much? You know, you realize, of course, that this always goes too fast. Man, thanks to Troy Ladd for coming this week. We really had fun talking about Hollywood Hotrods. It's too cool. We reach over 1 million car enthusiasts every week. You know who you are. Thank you for liking and following our Facebook page and our websites and checking out the YouTube channel. For Ron Foreman, president and founder of the Rat Bastards Car Club, and Steve Johan, our producer, I'm Brady Wright saying, drive fast, take risks, make sure you stick your foot in it, and we will be back next week with another horsepower, chrome, and rust.
Squirrel! Squirrel! Squirrel!
Squirrel!